What is up, guys? It is the Citrus Spanny here today, and today I'm coming at you with a top 8 recommendation list for anime that you guys should watch. Let's do this. Alright, so these are not in any particular order. I kind of separate them by sort of genre kind of things. So if you like the shonen shows that I'm recommending, a couple of those are first, and then we just go from there. And these are all shows that I thought they were incredibly good in one way or another, and that I'd recommend to anybody. Some are not for everybody, so it's 8 of them. Why top 8? Because I don't know, I couldn't think of 10. So let's get into it. First, number 1 or number 8, whatever you want to call it, it's not a countdown. These are just shows that I like. Bakuman, or however you want to say it. It's a really good series. Now, I have 1 through 20 of the manga, and I do want to say that if you're looking forward to watching the anime, you may want, if you're a manga fan, to read the manga and watch the anime, because it's a pretty good experience either way. I watched the anime, and it flows a little bit slow, I guess, because it's a manga, or it's an anime, I should say, about making manga. You heard it. It's an anime about 2 kids making comic books. Now, it's 75 episodes, 25 episodes, 3 seasons. How did that happen? How are these 2 kids making a comic book for 75 episodes, and how is it good? Well, it's awesome. I don't know how to describe it. It's effectively a culmination of everything, from the fact that it's comedic, it's got drama in it, the characters are so memorable that they're just amazing. Like, you got Hiromaru, although you don't know about him because you haven't probably watched the show, unless you have, in which case you know all about Hiromaru. But the general idea of the series is that it's to follow your dreams and to never give up on what you want to do. And it's Takagi and Mashiro, the 2 main characters, who are trying to go after the dream of getting their manga in Shonen Jump adapted into an anime. And it gives a lot of insight into the manga kind of career, and you read the manga and you watch anime and stuff like that, or maybe you just watch anime and you don't really realize how much work sometimes goes into the fact of making the anime, and that's not just animating it. I'm talking about, and some things come from light novels, and some are just originals, but the things that do come from manga, you know, these artists put a lot of work and time into drawing their panels and everything, and all the stress that comes with it, and all the publicity and things like that, and it really opens up eyes about the manga industry and how it works, and how competitive it is, and how unstable it can be for the artists that work for them. And it's really interesting that it opens up eyes, and it's a fictional piece of work, but it has a lot of non-fiction. It comes from the makers that made, the same people that made Death Note, so you can expect really good artwork, because obviously it comes from the manga. The anime stems off from the manga. The animation in the show is pretty good, and I mean, either you're some dude who writes people's names down in a notebook to kill them, or you make manga for a living. I don't even know. I mean, these 2 people come out with great ideas. Anyway, number 2 or number 7, I don't care. We're going with Haikyuu. Another shonen. There's one more shonen after this, and then we're going to get off the shonen bandwagon, I guess. Haikyuu. It's a show that came out last year, and it is a sports anime. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, I don't like sports. I hate sports. I'm not a sports kind of guy. Nor am I. I mean, I like playing the occasional sport in gym class or something, but like, no, I'm not that athletic of a guy. I like running. That's what I like doing. Now, this is a volleyball anime, a sport that I have very little interest in, but after this anime, I wanted to go spike some balls over some nets. Like, I wanted to go ham. Overall, this show is amazing. You got Hinata and Kageyama as your 2 main characters, who are pretty interesting in and of itself. It's got some comedy in there, like most shonen do. It's got some pretty awesome scenes. It is by Toho Animation. That's what it's called. It's made by the same people who made Kirk in a Basket, so you can expect some, like, electrifying sports sequences of crazy moves and stuff. Like, real volleyball doesn't look anything like this. Although I actually did look up a real volleyball match, and it's actually pretty interesting to watch. It's fast-paced. It's no Haikyuu, but it's still pretty good. It's a great show about volleyball, and I don't like sports anime. It's the only one I've ever seen. I want to watch Kirk in a Basket because I've heard it's good, but Haikyuu, 24 episodes, I'm waiting for the 2nd season. It is so good. Check it out. It doesn't sound like it's that good. but if you watch a couple episodes of it and you start liking it, you'll be wondering, why am I watching a show about volleyball? And then 24 episodes later, you're going to be like, that was good. Alright, so for the next one is one that's not as popular as it should be, in my opinion, because it's just so good at what it is. It is a battle shonen, Hunter x Hunter. Now, I say battle shonen, but that's not the best way to put it, because there are a lot of things that go into this. This is basically one of the most diverse shonen manga that I've ever read. It starts out as something kind of a little bit generic, maybe something you'd find from like Naruto, or although Naruto draws many influences from this show, from this manga, One Piece, Bleach, that kind of stuff. But as the show progresses, it gives you many different genres in one packed show, and it's only 148 episodes. It's not technically over because the manga artist disappears like all the time. He just doesn't make chapters, so the anime can't go on. However, it's worth watching 148 episodes. I'm not done yet. I'm on like episode 110. It's a recommendation because I'm not even done with the show yet, and I can tell you it's worth watching. That's how good it is. The big things that you want to watch out for if you do watch this show are that there are some arcs that aren't as good as others. I find that in the show, all the arcs are good, but then there's some that just, boom, blow you out of the water. There's the York New arc and the arc that I'm on right now, the Chimera Ant arc. Those two arcs are the arcs that are phenomenal, and then like you get to the next arc and it's good, but you're wondering why that arc wasn't as good as that arc. Like, Greed Island is the arc that comes after York New, which is like not as long, but it's pretty good, but it doesn't beat York New because it's so good. I'm getting off topic. It's a really good show with some really good arcs, and it's a shonen, so it's kind of long. You can expect the same kind of things coming out of it. A long anime, some fights are drawn out. However, I have noticed that this series in general doesn't have those drawn-out fight sequences, and the fights that do happen are so creative, and it's not about, hey, I've got more power than you, I win. It's more about making plans and setting up tricks and doing all these other things and using your power to the extent and actually winning a fight by intelligence and strength rather than just having some ability that you can charge up and beat the enemy. It's a very good shonen. I'd recommend to watch it. It's really awesome. The thing is that it has a little bit of a slow start, like a couple first episodes, but once you get into it, you will like this show, probably, if you're into that kind of stuff. Alright, moving on. Those are my 3 shonen recommendations. I'm going to move on from that kind of stuff right now, and we're going to move on to Kids on the Slope, which is technically considered a josei or josei anime. I don't like genres. They just kind of label something as, something that the author might not have even wanted to go for, although most things like shonen were obviously geared towards shonen, but Kids on the Slope is effectively a jazzy adventure. Now, this comes from the people who person rather, Watanabe, or Watanabe, I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry. The guy who made Cowboy Bebop, he was the director for that. He directed this. The manga for Kids on the Slope, or Sakamichi no Apollon, as they call it in the Japanese language, you might not know what I'm talking about if I'm saying Kids on the Slope, and you're like, this sounds kind of familiar. It's Sakamichi no Apollon. But it's a story, a coming-of-age story about 2 boys, Rentaru and Kaoru, who both grow up in a high school in the 60s. Yes, it's in the 60s in Japan, and they kind of start playing jazz music. They grow up together, and it's their story. It's a coming-of-age story, so it's a story about a kid and a couple other people growing up over a period of time. And what I love about these kinds of stories, I love coming-of-age stories because they're always really interesting with a lot of character development and usually good characters. Because if they don't have good characters, it's not going to be good. It's similar to Bakuman, where the characters are good enough to carry the series, but this one's a lot shorter, obviously. It's like 11 episodes, or maybe 12, I can't remember the exact number. It's a really short series that I just give it a go. The music in it is phenomenal. It got me into listening to jazz music, because before this show, I never really realized that jazz music was like, it was bumping, it was pretty good. And after the show, I was like, whoa, this is some pretty good stuff. Most of the pieces in the show, like the music pieces, are actually just covers of songs, but they do the covers really well, and it's really awesome. It catches the atmosphere of the 60s in Japan, and it even has like social overtones, such as like whenever they're playing jazz in a bar, there's like a section of racism towards that, because it's considered the African American kind of music. But overall, it just covers a lot of different topics. It's pretty deep in some areas, and it's really fun to watch. I recommend it. It's one of my favorite anime, probably in my top 4 or top 3 of my favorite shows. That's why I'm recommending it. Alright, so moving on, we got another music show. I guess we're putting 2 music shows right by each other. And we got Nana. It's one of the only shoujo anime I've ever watched, and from what I know about shoujo, they fit the exact trope. You know, it's the romance, and it's just like the cookie cutter, boom, 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 this is boring kind of show. Well, this is Nana. Meet a show that's shoujo, but actually, like, amazingly good. This is just another show that has a lot of character development. There are many characters, and the reason that I kept watching was because, like, these characters all around this show, they're all good. None of them are like, I don't like that guy, he's not cool. No, I liked every single character in this entire show, and it's 47 episodes long. Similar to Hunter x Hunter, the artist, she just kind of like got sick, and she went on a hiatus, and then she just hasn't come back. So we don't know. Alright, so my camera just ran out of batteries, but it's charged now, and we're ready to go back into the list. We're on the topic of Nana. So, there are 2 main characters of the series named Nana, and the other's name is Nana. How original. Now, effectively, they are polar opposites, character foils, if you will, and one of them's, you know, your typical 20-year-old female, you know what I'm going at here, and the other one's a punk rocker in a band, and they start living together because they both wanted the same apartment, and it's cheaper that way, and that's how the story unfolds, and it's pretty great. The general synopsis of it is that Nana, the regular one, not the punk rocker, wants to move to Tokyo to move in with their boyfriend, but then ends up not moving in with their boyfriend. There's a lot of things that go into this story, and it's very interesting. It is awesome, and for some reason, I really enjoyed it. I kind of think about it, and I'm just like, I don't know why I like that so much, but it was so good, so well done. I think it's because the characters are so spot on and so relatable and things like that, that it's really fun to watch. And also the music is pretty good in it, if you're into that punk, you know, punk rock, J-rock. It's not really J-rock, but, you know, Japanese punk rock, whatever you want to go with. Now, moving on to the next one, we've got Welcome to the NHK. Now, I've got the book over here. The book, it's a drastic turn. It's quite different from the anime. Now, this is it's a light novel. It's words. It's not a manga. So, this was adapted into a 24-episode anime series that was sort of heavily censored. If you watch the first episode, you'll see that Sato, our main character, is talking with his television and his TV, obviously the television is the TV, and all of his appliances like the phone, this and that, everything's the refrigerator, for instance. They're all like alive and talking to him. You think the guy's crazy, in reality he's on drugs. The drugs are never mentioned in the show, I think because of censorship issues. I'm not really sure why. There are a lot of messed up things that happen in this book that don't happen in the show, and as a result, I recommend, if you want a really... This is a pretty depressing read, but it's the single hands down best book I've ever read. Welcome to the NHK is supposed to be an insight on the hikikomori disease, as they might call it. It's not really a disease, it's more of a social disorder. It's the idea, a hikikomori in Japan is somebody who effectively is recluse from society. They have locked themselves in their house, they barely go outside, they are unemployed, things of that nature. This is a more, the anime is more of a satirical kind of, not only on the hikikomori problem, but it's almost like a culmination of a lot of social problems of Japan, kind of jam-packed into one, satirical kind of show. It's still a pretty sad show at times, but not near as sad as the book and not near as in-depth as the book. It just tackles a lot of social issues, so it's a really fun show to watch. It tackles things that aren't even in this book. Like, whenever I watched the show and was reading the book, I was like, well, why didn't they put that in there? But originally, the manga, the light novel is a lot different. It's just a different medium in general. And I think the show is really well done, though. For what it is, it's really good. It's not very similar to this, although some parts are. But overall, really fun to watch. And it's pretty funny at times. It's pretty dark at times. It's got a lot of dark humor, I guess, at the same time. And it's my type of show. It's one of my favorites. It's my favorite book. So, there you go. moving on to the two last anime I'm going to review, and these are two anime that I'd recommend to people who don't particularly like the medium of anime, but I want them to watch something that's anime. So, this first one I'm going to recommend is Psycho-Pass, which is something that, literally, if you hate anime, you could love Psycho-Pass. Like, it's that kind of show. It's got no tropes. It's got no, fan service, this, that, and the other thing that a lot of anime, mess around with. It's got no moe culture. All that kind of stuff is just left out, thrown out the door, boom, shot in the face. This is a more adult-themed sci-fi world that is incredibly interesting and one of the best anime I've ever watched in my, entire shows that I've ever watched. It is amazing. Effectively what it is everybody in the future is under a system called the Sybil system. And it can read crime coefficients. Now, the crime coefficients I'll get to in a second. Everybody, the story follows the story of the enforcers, who are effectively just the policemen of the age. And they have these things called dominators. They are guns. Now, they're not regular guns. If you point a dominator at somebody, it will read their crime coefficient. Their crime coefficient is how bad that person really is. Are they a criminal, or are they not? Sybil's system will decide that, and you can't make the decision yourself. Now, whenever you point this at a criminal that's doing a crime, for the most part, it's going to go way up, and you can shoot them and delete them. You can kill them, or you can capture them, that kind of thing. Now, the cool thing about this is that this causes policemen not to be able to kill people who are innocent, effectively. But it also leads to some bad occurrences. The main antagonist of the series, without giving too much away, is a guy who is a criminal, and you can see him doing criminal acts, such as murdering somebody, but his crime coefficient simply does not go up. And he's such a psychopathic murderer kind of, mastermind planner, who is, by the way, one of my favorite characters, Shogo Makishima. Best character in any anime I've ever watched. One of the best characters in anime, period. Definitely the best villain, but definitely one of the best characters. He is awesome, and it's funny that I like the antagonist of the series probably more than any of the protagonists. So that's saying something. That's pretty great. It's 24 episodes of awesomeness. It's really interesting concept that gets expanded upon, and it's just insane. It's awesome. It also has a leading female role, so it's something that's also pretty cool that you don't always see in anime, especially whenever there's a female role that is actually based on the strength of the character and actually just being a good detective, a good enforcer, rather than just being fan service or thrown to the side. She plays the major role in the series. She's one of the main characters, and it's nice to see that, especially for the people who want to see a strong female lead in a series. I know that's kind of a thing nowadays that people like to see. I thought it was really good, though. All the characters in it are very interesting, and I just really enjoyed the series. I don't know how else to say it. And finally, we come to the last entry on my most recommended anime list, Steins Gate. Alright, so Steins Gate is a show you might have heard of. It is about time travel. And time travel is nothing new. It's in every form of literature, it's in media, it's in books, it's in movies, it's in TV shows, it's in everything. It's really popular. It's a really cool concept that we always are just interested in. As human beings, time travel just seems really awesome. Can we go back to see something that we missed? Did we make a huge mistake that we could have fixed if we just went back in time and fixed it? Can we go into the future? All these things are kind of answered in the show. Not really, but, the show's about time travel. It's not about why time travel is awesome. It's just an example of why it's awesome. Now, Steins Gate in and of itself is a show that's 24 episodes long, and the only gripe I can find about this show, and I don't even find it that annoying, is that the show doesn't go ham, I'll say. This show doesn't go ham until episode 8, or 9, kind of. Now, up until then, I'm good with slow starts. I'm alright with the Fate Zero, Episode 1, 45 minutes of exposition kind of setting up the stage. Well, basically, the first 8 episodes or so of Steins Gate, and for more like 5 or 6, and it keeps on ramping up, it kind of sets up the whole entire idea of the time travel and how the characters are interacting, and then from that episode to the last second of the last episode, this show does what I like to call go ham, because this show just is good. Like, there's no, like, oh, well, this is bad now. No, it's just good the entire time. A really good watch. We got the main character, Rintaro, who effectively, without giving away too much, again, I don't want to spoil anything, he finds out that he has created somewhat of a time machine, and it's a pretty basic one at the beginning, and it's all about the butterfly effect, and everything goes downhill from there, and it is amazing to watch. Now, I watched it on Blu-ray because I actually have the entire series on Blu-ray, and the animation on it was phenomenal. So, the animation was really well done, the artwork is awesome. It was based off of a visual novel, believe it or not. A visual novel made an anime this good. So, it can come from any medium. I don't know. It can come from manga, light novels, visual novels, anything. It can make good anime. And effectively, this is a really awesome show. It's got interesting characters. It's got plot twists going left and right, just over your head, out through the walls, and you're just like, what's going on? And at episode 8 or 9, I can't remember, you'll be like, what? What just happened? And that is... It's awesome when an anime can do that to you. When an anime can just flip you upside down and slap you in the face and say, hey, you thought that was going to happen? No, it's not. Boom, right here. That's awesome when an anime can do that to you. And Steins does it all the time. It's a really good show. It's really awesome. I'd recommend to watch it. It's definitely my most recommended on this list. It and Psycho Pass, even though I said it wasn't relative, but... Those two are my most recommended anime because they're just really good shows, and even if you're not a huge fan of the genre of anime in general, these two shows are amazing. And anyway, this list is over now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to put everything in a format so that anybody could find what they want to find. I mean, if you like this kind of stuff, I put some of that in there. I mixed everything up. I got 2 music shows, 3 shonen shows, 1 shoujo, and 3 shows that are just kind of like, mixed matching. It's all good stuff, and I would recommend to watch all of them, but you probably don't have time to watch all of them. So, pick and choose, my friends. Pick and choose. Until next time, see you guys later. Hopefully I'll make a video, within, a week this time, because, well, it was 7 days since my last video, so I'm a little bit off schedule, aren't I? Till then, bada boom, bada bing, bada bang.